The community sprawled through the Little Snake River Valley on the same unpaved streets Butch Cassidy used to walk. Baggs was so isolated, it was known within the department as the warden's graveyard, the district where game wardens were sent to quit or die. Governor Spencer Rulon had hidden Joe there for his past transgressions. But after Rulon had won a second term in a landslide, he'd sent word through his people that Joe was no longer a liability. As luck had it, at the same time, Phil Kiner in Saddle String took a new district in Cody, and Joe quickly applied for, and received, his old district north in the Bighorns in 12 Sleep County, where his family was. Despite his almost giddy excitement about moving back to his wife, Mary Beth, and his daughters, he couldn't in good conscience vacate the area without investigating the complaint about the butchered elk. That wouldn't be fair to the new game warden, whoever he or she would be. He'd leave the other reported crimes to the sheriff. Joe Pickett was lean, of medium height and medium build. His gray Stetson rancher was stained with sweat and red dirt. A few silver hairs caught the sunlight on his temples and unshaved chin. He wore faded Wranglers, scuffed lace-up outfitter boots with stubby spurs, a red uniform shirt with a pronghorn antelope patch on his shoulder, and a badge over his breast pocket with the designation GF 54. A tooled leather belt that identified him as Joe held handcuffs, bear spray, and a service-issue .40 Glock semi-auto. With every mile of his last patrol of the Sierra Madre of southern Wyoming, Joe felt as if he were going back into time and to a place of immense and unnatural silence. With each muffled hoofbeat, the sense of foreboding got stronger until it enveloped him in a calm, dark dread that made the hair prick up on the back of his neck and on his forearms, and that set his nerves on edge. The silence was disconcerting. It was late August, but the normal alpine soundtrack was switched to mute. There were no insects humming in the grass, no squirrels chattering in the trees to signal his approach, no marmots standing up in the rocks on their hind legs and whistling, no deer or elk rustling in the shadows of the trees rimming the meadows where they fed, no grouse clucking or flushing. Yet he continued on as if being pulled by a gravitational force. It was as if the front door of a dark and abandoned house slowly opened by itself before he could reach for the handle, and the welcome was anything but warm. Despite the brilliant greens of the meadows or the subdued fireworks of alpine flowers, the sun-fused late summer morning seemed 10 degrees cooler than it actually was. "Stop spooking yourself," he said aloud and with authority. But it wasn't just him. His horses were unusually twitchy and emotional. He could feel Buddy's tension through the saddle. Buddy's muscles were tight and balled. He breathed rapid, shallow breaths, and his ears were up and alert. The old game trail he took was untracked and covered with a thin sheet of pine needles, but it switchbacked up the mountain, and as they rose, the sky broke through the canopy and sent shafts of light like jail bars to the forest floor. Joe had to keep nudging and kissing at his mount to keep him going up the face of the mountain into the thick forest. Finally, deep into the trees, he yearned for open places where he could see. Joe was still unnerved by a brief conversation he'd had with a dubious local named Dave Farkas the day before at the trailhead. Joe was pulling the cinch tight on Buddy when Farkas emerged from the brush with a spinning rod in his hand. Short and wiry, with mutton chop sideburns and a slack expression on his face, Farkas had opened up with, "So you're really going up there?" Joe said, "Yup." The fisherman said, "All I know for sure is I drink beer at the Dixon Club bar with about 4 old